My name is Jack Coleman, and I am reading When Pigasso Met Mootisse. And it is by Nina Layden, who both wrote and illustrated it, and the illustrations are fabulous, so I'm going to frequently be showing you the pictures, because otherwise you'd be missing out. And we don't want that. So, there once was a young pig named Pigasso. While other piglets rolled in the mud and played games, Pigasso painted. He painted anything and everything, and in a most unusual way. At the same time, there once was a young bull named Mootisse. Mootisse was not like the other bulls. He wasn't interested in bullfighting. Mootisse was happy only when he painted pictures, and he painted big, bold, bright pictures. There we go. Gives you an indication of what's to come. In time, word of Pigasso's talent spread throughout the pig provinces. Soon, art-loving pigs from all over lined up to buy his creations. At the same time, Mootisse was getting famous in the cattle community. There weren't many households that didn't own a Mootisse. There, now they're kind of on camera. These are just so beautiful, I can't not show them to you. Pigasso and Mootisse were becoming art superstars, but with this came a price. Everybody wanted to see them. Art sellers, art buyers, art students, art historians, art groupies. It was an art attack. One day Pigasso got fed up and said, "I'm tired of this noisy pig pen." At the same time, Mootisse declared, "I'm sick of this crowded cow town." Needing a change, they both decided to look for a peaceful place where they could paint without distractions. Look how beautiful this is. So each of the two artists looked far and wide for the perfect spot. Pigasso found a lovely farm looking towards the east. Mootisse found a handsome farm facing the west. After Pigasso moved in, he went to introduce himself to his new neighbor across the road. At the same time, Mootisse went to introduce himself to his new neighbor across the road. That is how Pigasso met Mootisse. And coincidentally, that is how Mootisse met Pigasso. Keep moving it the wrong way. At first, Pigasso and Mootisse were friendly and welcomed each other as neighbors, but soon things began to change. It started one day when Pigasso criticized one of Mootisse's paintings. Then Mootisse made fun of one of Pigasso's. Mootisse called Pigasso an art hog. Then Pigasso called Mootisse a mad cow. Mootisse quipped, "You paint like a 2-year-old." Pigasso retorted, "You paint like a wild beast." Mootisse raged, "Your colors look like mud." Pigasso spat, "Your paintings look like color by numbers." Then things really got out of hand. Oh, it was a modern art mess. Look at this. You can just barely see them in there through all that scattered paint. Pigasso stormed off into his house. "That Mootisse doesn't like my art," he huffed. "Well, I'll show him." And Mootisse bullied his way into his house. "I'll give that Pigasso something he can really criticize," he snorted. Then a full-scale feud erupted. But it was a most unusual battle. Armed with ladders and buckets of paint, Mootisse launched the first attack. He started at dawn, but by the end of the evening, he had succeeded in transforming the outside of his house into a monster-sized Mootisse. Not to be outdone, Pigasso fired up his paintbrushes and, in full view of the enemy, counterattacked. He turned his farm into a huge and outrageous pork of art. The two artists then retreated into their houses and pulled down the shades. Pigasso certainly didn't want to look out his window and stare at Mootisse, and Mootisse had no desire to give his rooms a view of a Pigasso. This presented a problem. There seemed to be only one solution. Without a word to each other, Pigasso and Mootisse each began to build a huge wooden fence down the middle of their road. See, they're building a barricade. At first, Pigasso and Mootisse seemed satisfied. Both artists went back to painting by themselves. But after a while, Pigasso was surprised to find that he missed that bull-headed Mootisse. At the same time, Mootisse found his studio empty without the presence of pig-headed Pigasso. Pigasso pondered. That Mootisse isn't such a bad artist. He has some interesting ideas. Mootisse moaned, "That Pigasso may not paint like me, but he knows what he's doing." However, being naturally pig-headed and bull-headed, neither artist knew how to apologize to the other. So they did what they do best. They let their paintbrushes do the talking. Pigasso painted on one side of the fence and Mootisse painted on the other. Each worked until they were exhausted. It was strangely quiet when they were done. Then, curious to see what Mootisse had been doing, Pigasso sprinted around to the other side. At the same time, Mootisse galloped over to Pigasso's side. The silence was broken as the two artists began laughing at their amazing work of art. You see the two of them. From that day on, Pigasso and Mootisse became great friends. They happily took down the fence and shared their different views. A few months later, a big museum bought the fence. Pigasso called his side when Pigasso met Mootisse. Mootisse called his side when Mootisse met Pigasso. Look at that. The critics called it incredible. Oh, I can't ever get that right for some reason. Look at this. So now, a little bit of the actual history. The true story of Picasso and Mootisse. Picasso and Mootisse were not a pig and a bull, but they were characters. They were two of the finest artists of the 20th century. While they were never neighbors, they became close in the small world of art. Henri Mootisse was born in December 31st, 1969 in France. Mootisse didn't want to be an artist when he was little. He studied to be a lawyer. But then, when he was 21, he got sick with appendicitis. While he was getting better, he painted his first painting. He liked painting so much that he ended his law career. Pablo Picasso was born on October 25, 1881 in Spain. His father was an art teacher who helped Picasso start painting when he was very young. It was soon obvious that he was very talented. Picasso studied painting in Barcelona and Madrid, two big cities in Spain. But as he was growing as an artist, Picasso decided to move to Paris, which was and still is a great city for art. At first, Picasso and Mootisse were friendly to each other. They even traded paintings. Mootisse also gave Picasso an African mask, which inspired him to paint in a primitive style, a style he became very famous for. But soon, it became apparent that Picasso and Mootisse were becoming rivals and competitors. Picasso said some bad things about Matisse's paintings, and Mootisse said some bad things about Picasso's. But over time, the two artists learned to respect each other and became lifelong friends. Mootisse died in 1954. Picasso died in 1973. But their art lives on in many museums, galleries, and private collections around the world. And that is when Picasso met Mootisse. I hope you enjoyed it.